Don't you just love the idea of spending $500,000 to blast potentially hundreds of tons of emissions into the upper atmosphere, disrupting the ozone layer and leaving behind a vapor trail that lingers for years, just to aura farm the fact that you floated in space for a few minutes, and really it's hardly space. Blue Origin goes to 100 kilometers just above the Kármán line. Virgin Galactic doesn't even reach the Kármán line, but by NASA standards that's still space, so they get credit. However, I'm less here to insult the way the rich spend their money, since after all they can spend it however they want, and if it brings them joy without hurting anybody, it's all good. Except it's not all good. The negative impacts aren't cookie cutter CO2 emissions though, so I want to briefly break this down. To first address emissions, depending if you take Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic, or SpaceX, you're gonna get different results because they all use different engines. So if you decide on Blue Origin, you'll be happy to hear there's no emissions, since they run on hydrogen. Except like most things are too good to be true, this is false. Experts have estimated that a single Blue Origin launch produces around 50 tons of carbon emissions. That's like if you drove for just 11 years straight. Virgin Galactic is similar at 60 tons, roughly equivalent to 44,900 gallons of gas burned. And finally, if you want to ride in style and take the SpaceX Dragon capsule, consider the trade-off of instead being able to fly 400 one-way transatlantic flights per passenger at the high end. Estimates fall between 200 and 400 tons of CO2 emitted. However, like I had mentioned earlier, the negative impacts aren't cookie cutter. The main problem is where these emissions are going. Unlike airplanes or cars, these emissions are being shot into the stratosphere, which doesn't have rain, so it lingers far longer than typical emissions. This is a problem because it traps even more heat and other emissions like nitrogen oxide and chlorine compounds, which can catalyze reactions that break down ozone. We really need ozone, so let's not do that. Rocket launches also create black carbon, aka soot. This is like top tier global warming elements. In fact, they're so effective that when they settle in the stratosphere in clumps, they can actually cause localized heating, which can alter jet streams and polar circulation. So that's the main backing to my claim, but the other concern here is wealth gaps. It's something we've already covered on this channel, but the fact people are willing to spend $500,000 or in some cases many millions for a day's experience while other people's basic needs go unmet is some questionable morals. There's plenty of ways to have a fantastic day or eye-opening experience for a few thousand or a few hundred or even less dollars. You don't need to go to space. To end this video, I've made one of those disclosures that go at the end of one of those sketchy weight loss medication ads.
Warning, taking this flight may lead to inflated ego and irreversible carbon emissions. Side effects include ozone depletion, stratosphere, vapor trails, and sudden urge to aura farm selfies from the edge of space. Do not board if you're allergic to nitrogen oxide. Ethical dilemmas are spending $450,000 for 90 minutes of flight. Consult a doctor if you experience symptoms of existential guilt or a desire to help those in need. If you experience prolonged feelings of humanitarian detachment, please return to Earth immediately and consider flight giving.